Your dad and brother are bringing your sister from the hospital. She and the baby will live with you from now on. I've already decided, my mother-in-law declared, standing in my living room as if she owned it. Hi everyone, my name is Hannah Wells, I'm 29, and that morning was the moment I realized peace in this family was never an option, not when control was their favorite language. She didn't even sit down, just barked orders while her driver unloaded suitcases. Move your things out of the master bedroom. Your sister-in-law needs comfort, not cramped space. I blinked. You mean my bedroom? Yes, she said sharply. You're young, you'll adjust. Think of it as helping family. Helping family, that phrase again. It was what she said every time she wanted to trample boundaries. My husband, Aaron, stood frozen by the doorway, avoiding my eyes. He knew better than to challenge his mother. I'm sure you'll make it work, she continued, pulling curtains open like she was inspecting a rental property. I've already called the movers. My pulse slowed, but my mind sharpened. They treated my home like a spare room, my kindness like a doormat. I smiled, calm, polite, terrifyingly composed. All right, I said softly. If that's what you've decided, then I'll make my own decision, too. And what I did next made them realize this wasn't their house anymore. It was mine. Aaron followed his mother into the hallway, whispering urgently. I could hear every word. Mom, you can't just move her in here without talking to Hannah first. She's your sister, Aaron, his mother snapped. She just gave birth and needs care. Do you expect her to go back to that tiny apartment while she's still recovering? Mom, this isn't about that. Oh, it's always about Hannah's feelings, isn't it? That girl's too sensitive for her own good. That girl. I stood still, listening, my hands shaking just slightly as I folded the baby blanket she'd dumped on my couch. I'd hosted family dinners, paid half the mortgage, and built this apartment into a home. Yet in her eyes, I was disposable. I walked to the doorway. Mrs. Carter, I said calmly, has anyone asked me what I think? She turned sharply. We're not asking, dear. We're informing. Aaron looked helpless. Hannah, please, just for a few weeks. Until my sister gets better. A few weeks, I repeated, smiling faintly. And where will I sleep in the meantime? In the guest room, his mother said. Obviously. I nodded slowly. Of course. They both relaxed, mistaking my quiet for compliance. But as I watched her unpack her daughter's bags in my bedroom, one thought crystallized. They had mistaken my silence for weakness for the last time. This time, silence was strategy. By evening, my apartment looked unrecognizable. Baby clothes on my sofa. A stroller parked by the window. My mother-in-law barking orders at the delivery men as if she were orchestrating a royal move-in. Aaron hovered around, guilt written across his face. It's temporary, Hannah, he kept saying, avoiding eye contact. Of course, I replied smoothly, stirring the tea I hadn't offered them. Temporary. His sister, Lily, arrived a few hours later, pale, exhausted, holding a newborn. My heart ached for her. She didn't deserve my anger. She smiled weakly. I'm so sorry, Hannah. Mom said it would only be for a short while. It's all right. I lied. I'm sure you'll be comfortable. But as I helped her settle, I noticed something. My name had been removed from the bedroom door. A fresh label was taped there. Lily and baby. That was my breaking point. That night, while everyone was asleep, I walked through my apartment, touching every wall I'd painted, every photo I'd hung, every space I'd built. And I realized something simple. This wasn't just disrespect. It was an invasion. The next morning, I woke up before dawn, dressed in silence, and left the house without a word. Aaron called twice. I didn't answer. By noon, I was in my lawyer's office, calm, composed, and holding a folder that would change everything. If they wanted my home so badly, I'd make sure they had it, but not the way they imagined. My lawyer, Mr. Hayes, looked up from the documents I'd handed him, eyebrows rising. So, you're the sole legal owner of the property? Yes, I said calmly. Bought it before the marriage. Every payment, every signature, mine. He nodded slowly. Then you have full rights to decide who lives there. Do you want them evicted formally or subtly? Formally, I said. With a lesson attached. He smiled faintly. I like your style. Together, we drafted a notice of occupancy termination, listing my in-laws and their daughter as unauthorized residents. It was all perfectly legal, cold, precise, devastating. That night, I came home quietly. My mother-in-law was in my kitchen, giving feeding instructions to Lily while Aaron scrolled through his phone. You're home, she said without looking up. I told the cleaner to move your things to the storage room. I smiled. Perfect timing, actually. I brought something for you. I slid the envelope across the table. She frowned and opened it. Her lips parted as she read the bold heading. Notice to vacate, effective immediately. Aaron stood, alarmed. Hannah, what is this? Just paperwork, I said evenly. You all wanted to stay here. Now you'll do it properly, with rent, deposits, and legal contracts in my name. His mother went pale. You wouldn't. Oh, I said softly, meeting her eyes. I already did. And for the first time, the room fell silent on my terms. Aaron chased me down the hallway, his voice sharp with disbelief. Do you even hear yourself, Hannah? You're evicting my family. They just need time. I turned slowly, my expression calm but steady. They didn't ask for time, Aaron. They took space. My space. There's a difference. He rubbed his temples. You're overreacting. Mom's just trying to help Lily adjust. I laughed softly. By taking my room? My furniture? My name off the door? He froze. Inside the living room, his mother was already on the phone, voice trembling with outrage. She's gone insane. She's throwing her husband's family out. After everything we've done for her. I stepped closer. You mean after everything you've taken? Her face flushed crimson. You ungrateful girl. We gave you our son. I smiled. You didn't give me anything. I married him. And just so we're clear, this apartment isn't yours, it's mine. Legally. Lily's voice broke through the tension, soft and uncertain. Maybe we should go, Mom. But her mother hissed. We're not going anywhere. I reached into my purse, pulled out my phone and pressed play. The audio recording of Mr. Hayes' voice filled the air. Notice effective immediately. Unauthorized residents must vacate the property within 48 hours. Aaron's shoulders slumped. Lily stared at the floor. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't gloat. I just said quietly, 48 hours start now. And walked away, finally in control of my own home. By the next morning, the entire family group chat was on fire. Messages flew in from aunts, cousins, and even Aaron's distant uncle, all defending his mother. She just needed help. You could have handled this privately. Family doesn't treat family like that. I read every message, then muted the chat. Aaron didn't come home that night. When he finally walked in the next morning, his eyes were bloodshot. Mom's devastated, he said flatly. She can't believe you'd humiliate her like that. I didn't humiliate her, I said, sipping my coffee. She did that to herself. I just set boundaries, legally. He stared at me for a long moment. Do you even want this marriage? I met his gaze, unflinching. I wanted a partnership, Aaron, not to be treated like a tenant in my own life. He sighed, running a hand through his hair. You've changed. No, I said quietly. I just stopped apologizing. 2 days later, a moving truck appeared downstairs. I watched from the balcony as his mother and brother loaded bags, muttering under their breath. Lily came last, holding her baby, eyes full of quiet understanding. I'm sorry for all this, she said softly. You don't need to apologize, I told her. Take care of your child. And yourself. She nodded, then got into the car. As the truck pulled away, the silence that followed wasn't empty. It was freedom. For the first time in years, my apartment finally felt like mine again. A week later, Aaron and I sat in our eerily quiet living room. No baby cries. No shouting. No mother-in-law inspecting every inch of my home. Just silence and the widening space between us. He stared at the eviction notice still on the counter. You really meant it, didn't you? I told you I don't bluff, I said. He exhaled, defeated. Mom says she'll never forgive you. Then she'll have to live with that, I replied. Because forgiveness doesn't cancel boundaries. He looked at me, searching for the woman who used to stay quiet to keep the peace. You've turned cold, Hannah. No, I said softly. I've turned clear. He stood, pacing. You embarrass my family. I stood too, my tone even. Your family embarrassed me in my own home. They crossed every line, and you watched. He didn't answer. Instead, I picked up the spare key from the table and placed it in his hand. You can give this to your mother, since she loves controlling spaces that don't belong to her. His fingers closed around the key, his face unreadable. What are you saying? I'm saying, I whispered, I'm done living in a house where I have to ask permission to exist. That night, he packed a small bag. No shouting. No tears. Just quiet, the kind that ends something. And for me, that silence was peace. 3 months later, the apartment looked exactly how it used to, calm, bright, and entirely mine. I'd replaced the curtains his mother picked, sold the bulky furniture she insisted on, and turned the guest room, once meant for his sister, into my art studio. I thought solitude might feel lonely. Instead, it felt like oxygen. Aaron had moved back with his parents. Occasionally, he'd call, his voice hesitant. You sure you don't want to talk? I'd answer the same every time. I've already said everything that needed to be said. Then one morning, a courier arrived at my door with a thick envelope. Inside was a divorce settlement, drafted by his lawyer, signed by Aaron. No bitterness, just closure. Alongside it was a smaller note in his handwriting. You were right, Hannah. Boundaries aren't cruelty, they're strength. I see that now. I folded the note, smiled faintly, and tucked it in my drawer, a quiet ending to a loud chapter. His family still tried to reach out through mutual relatives, but I never responded. Their version of love was possession, not respect. Now, every evening, I paint by the window where his mother once stood giving orders. The same space that used to feel like a battlefield now hums with peace. They wanted to take over my home, my life. Instead, I reclaimed both without shouting, without revenge, without chaos. Just calm precision.